Hey, it's Danny Lee joining the conversation. I had some thoughts I wanted to share today. I recently listened to watch out for the dog poo. I recently listened to a podcast on Joe Rogan. Jonathan Haidt was on Joe Rogan. I always love it when Jonathan Haidt is on somebody's podcast. He always has great things to say, a lot of insight. I love his books. He's a great thinker. The topic that I wanted to comment on was racism and prejudice. And so the main thing that kind of struck me today was they kind of got into it a little bit back and forth, whether or not there is privilege, if privilege exists, if white privilege exists, or if some group privilege exists. And Joe Rogan was saying that it only exists if there's racism. So if one individual or group is being racist against another and they have privilege, then it exists. If they have some perceived privilege, but they're not being racist or prejudiced against another individual or group, then it doesn't exist. And then Jonathan Haidt gave a great example of him walking to the hotel. He was in a hotel with his wife, and he woke up in the middle of the night, someone banging on the door. It was the wrong door, some guy drunk, and he opened the door to let him know that he was at the wrong room. And his wife, Jonathan Haidt's wife, asked him, why did you do that? As a woman, I would have never been able to do that. And of course, that's a great point. Certain members of a group or a sex have certain abilities to go out and operate in the world differently than others. Those can definitely be perceived as privileges, so I completely agree with that. So my question is, if you feel like certain groups are oppressed institutionally or just in everyday life, if certain groups are oppressed specifically and targeted by other groups, let's say black people are oppressed by white people, and you think it's institutionalized, and you think and your example is that, well, black people can't operate in the world the same way that white people can. If that's your definition, if that's the only point you look at, then my point that I would like to make is, as a Latter-day Saint or as a Mormon, I also receive such a same, or I'm also in a same category. I am a member of a group that has been historically murdered and oppressed. I'm a member of a group that I have certain, depending on certain social interactions, I have to be aware that I'm going to be treated differently. And here, case in point, here's my example. Oh, and by the way, spoiler alert, I'm not going to hold that my group is an oppressed group. I think individuals can be oppressed in my group, just like in any other group. But if somebody's going to ask me, is your group, your religion, is it an oppressed religion? I would have to say no. I don't think so. But this aspect of it is true. I do have to operate in the world differently, depending on where I go. My wife and I just went to a birthday party for a nephew on her side of the family, and we've got, of course, her side of the family over there. Now, if you're a male and you're in Poland and you don't drink, you're probably, well, you're very strange, and you're the weirdest. You're definitely unique. I don't know of anyone else that's a male that's in this country that doesn't drink. So, well, okay, that's not true. There are a few that I know of, but in the places where I go, especially with family, I'm always asked, oh, do you want to drink? And of course, everybody knows that I'm a member of my church, and I just don't drink. Do I care that they drink? No. But there is a situation that seems to be designed to put me on my guard and to make me feel uncomfortable. And this is the example. I'll give it to you really quick. So we're sitting, we're enjoying dinner, and of course I only understand about a fifth of what is said. I'm still learning the language. And one of the relatives who I know and who speaks English, there's a couple that speak English, asks me if I want a drink. And he asked me in Polish, and I didn't actually even understand him. And immediately this gives another member, my father-in-law, who's somebody who's a very insufferable, let's say, individual. He looks for opportunities to be domineering and unpleasant. Not all the time, but many times he does this. And he loves holding things over. And immediately he just announces in front of everybody, "Oh no, don't give Danny any alcohol because his religion forbids it." And of course, if you say it like that, it's going to draw the attention of other people. Well, does it? And then of course it creates a mostly negative, on the negative side, discussion between everybody, one of which I'm not a part of. I cannot defend myself, I can't stand for myself, or I can't respond to anything that's being said because I don't understand the language. And there's a lot of nuance there that I would get into. First of all, it's false that I'm not drinking alcohol because my religion forbids it. My religion holds to a really high standard people's ability to choose, and that's one of the most important things in my religion. I could drink right now and I would still be a member of my religion, and that's whatever. Okay, I choose not to drink because I've made certain promises with God, and I believe that if I keep my end of the promise, He'll keep His end of the promise, and I'll be able to live with my wife forever, even after this life. And that's my choice, and I don't mind not drinking. I also don't mind that people drink. I think it is a little bit strange that at a 4-year-old's birthday party everybody's drinking, but whatever, it's Poland. Everybody finds opportunities to drink whenever they can. But back to the topic, if somebody wants to come with me with an argument saying my group is an oppressed group because we've had a history and because we can't operate in the world the same way you can, you're a white male, and they ignore my history and my specific situation, that's the type of person I can't have a conversation with. I'm going to go back to what I said one more time, that I don't hold with the idea that my religion or my group is an oppressed group. I think we get along just fine, although I do think we're still misunderstood, highly misunderstood, and for some reason it's very easy for people to make the Mormon the butt of the joke for some reason. I find it funny oftentimes, other times I find it uncomfortable, but that's just the way it is. All right, that was my thought today. I'm going to go back. It's freezing. I'm going to go back into the library.